It's all for you. Yeah, yo. There whenever it matters, and even more when you feel like it doesn't. Protect you so you never feel like you wasn't. Know I'm right alongside you. Either that or I'm behind you, but always got you. End of discussion, nothing means more. First one to offer is shoulders for what you reach for. Thought I saw the eyes of the world until I seen yours. And know that I ain't see a better view yet. I'm with whatever, so don't ever you fret. Know that you covered, not a hurdle or a heartbreak. A change what a partake, cause none of them won't ever get comfortable in your walkway. My job is to aware you, fully loaded, prepare you for all of the above that I'm never letting get near you. But still in all, give you every advantage I found. Couldn't find a better fit for them, along with my crown. And since the baton was passed, I've been down. Cause failing's not an option, and dad is not a noun, not at all.
Welcome everyone to a special collaboration between That Is Not A Noun podcast, KloudScape Studio, and the original Jeek podcast. Introducing first from That Is Not A Noun is Mr. Ishmael Street.
What's going on, everybody? How you doing? That's all you're gonna get from me from now.
Cool, sweet and simple and sweet. Next is our favorite artist, who will be drawing and is drawing as we speak, from KloudScape Studio, Demar Douglas.
You can say something.
You can say something, Demar.
You can say something,
man. Say hi, Demar.
Just say hi.
Hi.
Yes, we can hear you, Demar.
Yeah, my mic is on, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
just say,
Oh, okay.
say hi and keep drawing,
New
Demar.
setup. Oh,
Yeah,
okay,
wait.
right.
It's all good.
All right. That's my labor, all right.
It's all good. And lastly, I am your host for this special event. My name is Matt Williams, a.k.a. Rockin' Mr. Magic of the original Jeek podcast by Jeek Nation. With us this evening are two esteemed guests. First, the organizer of this event, retired boxer, Boyd RainMaker Melson. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm the plus one for this one. I'm the plus one. I'm the date that got brought.
He's the only one in this group that has an action figure. Can you show your action figure, please?
Fact.
Yeah, that's real. It's
That's
real.
Real. It's got a hard head like me. Man, I'm in heaven watching this picture come along.
I'm tripping.
It's amazing, right?
Yeah, it's amazing.
And tell me why I keep like messing around with my mouse pad, like I'm
Like you thought. Oh, that's hilarious. Well, that voice you just heard, folks, is our other guest, former two-time welterweight world champion, ShowTime, Shawn Porter.
Yes, sir.
Shawn, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Does this happen on every show? Is somebody being painted and recreated in front of their eyes every show?
This is a special thing that will happen occasionally, but does not happen every show.
Yeah, because this has got me like I said, like one side of my brain is saying you can do it too, like do it with them, and then the other side of the brain is saying mess him up. You know what I mean? So I'm like, my Jedi mind tricks ain't working though, because it's crazy the way this is happening. Like this is nuts.
You just got eyeballs.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And it came in so quick too. Like
It did. He gave you compassionate eyes in this picture.
yeah, he did. I was like, please don't mess me up. Don't give me no cock eyes. You know, because that's what always happens. Like people do the painting, the whole painting be fly, and then the eyes be like. The whole painting be fly, but then the eyes be like, what do you want from me now? You know?
Oh, that's hilarious.
Real fast. You got those Prince eyes, man. I'm like hooked into it, man. Like,
Is that what you really mean to be telling that man right now?
I'm just saying, it's the dope.
Pause real hard right now.
But I'm just really have Prince aura in that artwork. I'm just saying.
True story is yesterday my wife has family in Mexico and they're buying her sunglasses, and I told her she didn't need any, and she looked at me and said, why didn't you ever wear sunglasses? I said, because I have beautiful eyes and I'm not going to cover these up ever.
There you go. Yeah. You want him to get lost.
What'd she say?
She rolled her eyes. She said whatever, you know.
We're going to get started. First, we're going to start with my side of the world, the fun side. I get to have fun with everything. So I'm going to ask you some questions from the on a geeky side, which jock geek side, and just have fun. And boys, some of these questions will be open. So if you want to jump in, feel free.
Yeah.
Cool. So, Mr. Porter, of your 35 professional fights, which one is your favorite?
I will have to say my favorite five. I really have kind of three that are like Keith Thurman. It was the first fight on CBS since Muhammad Ali had fought Leon Spinks way back in the day.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of the eyeballs that were on us for that fight. It was big, and it was like the biggest for me at that point in my career, and probably even till now. And it was that kind of fight where it was known that he and I were friends, and it was known that that he and I were practically the best fighters in the division at our age. Yeah, because you had Manny, you have Floyd ahead of us, and you had a couple of other old heads that were ahead of us. But in terms of like young gunners, he and I were the young gunners at that point, and so it was like we were going to cancel one another out, and then somebody was going to move forward, and the other one was not, obviously, or for me, took a small step back. And so with everything that came, the magnitude of that fight was amazing. And that was 2016, and I still talk to people today, 2021, and they kind of gaze off like it happened just yesterday. And so that kind of, for me, was the first experience that I had in terms of reaching one of my biggest goals, which is creating fights that will be memorable for a very, very long time. And then the fight that I had with Danny Garcia, winning the WBC title, another opportunity I had to realize a goal of mine, make a goal of my reality in terms of winning the WBC title. And I've told this story plenty of times. It's that feeling of having my name called as the winner is like second to me seeing my firstborn come to this world. So that's how big that was for me. And then the very second to last fight that I had against Errol Spence Jr. Again, the heat and the moment was really hot, and I think that we both were able to capitalize on that night. I think that we both left it all in the ring that night. And again, you're talking about a fight that people will consider an instant classic right there. So
definitely,
listen, man,
that was the fight of the year.
Yeah,
and I personally predicted that he would win, but I was rooting for you. Yeah, and after the fight, I was like, I think Porter won this fight.
Yeah,
we were arguing at work. We was just like, yo, I think Porter won.
Listen, man, so again, like, real quick, just to go back, I don't know, 10 or 11. I was like, man, I was watching Marvelous Marvin Hagler and Tommy Hearns. And I said, I want to do that one day. But in my mind, like, people aren't going to the barbershop the next day talking about me. In my mind, people aren't, showing up to work, arguing with their co-workers or, agreeing with their co-workers on what they just saw, so on and so forth. So, like, to see it and hear it now that people still to this day are arguing, debating, excited whenever that fight comes up is like, to me, it's like it can't get any better than that.
No, that's a very dope approach and extremely awesome and humble for you. Because as a fan myself, it's like wow, like, and they were. And what y'all did in the ring was magic.
Yeah,
it gave me Hearns Hagler vibes. Because
that's what I'm saying. When I fought Keith Thurman, I said, y'all, it's gonna be people that love him. It's gonna be people that love us, love me, and at the end, y'all gonna love us both. And I think that I was kind of able to, reinvent that again against Errol Spence Jr.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
Recently, you said that Terrence Crawford is your preferred next fight.
Yeah,
but if that fight doesn't happen, who would you prefer to fight next?
You know what? We don't have a name right now, but my dad, he basically cornered me. He's been asking me to give him names for about a month and a half. And last weekend we're in Cleveland, back home, and I'm driving, and he got in the seat with me, and we went on like a 30-minute drive to get to somewhere, and he says, He says, "Hey, if it's not if it's not Terrence Crawford, we need to figure out when, and we need to figure out who." He said, "Let's just start with when." So we've decided that we're gonna get back in the ring in July. So
Okay.
no opponent right now, but obviously, there's a piece of me that wants Terrence Crawford, but there's another bigger piece of me now understanding that fight may not happen, and if it doesn't, I'm not really sure who yet.
Gotcha. Okay. Speaking of Cleveland, with the addition of Jadeveon Clowney,
Yeah.
how far can your Browns go?
Yeah.
How hyped are you as a Browns fan?
Listen, if Davion, as long as he's healthy, I think that our defense is we're gonna cover the sidelines. We gotta pick up some DBs in this draft. By where I'm sitting at, I feel like we have one solid defensive back, and I think the other ones are gonna have to find a way through. But given the fact that we were able to make it into the second round last year, I think that we are all looking at getting right there at the least this coming season. If we get there, I will be happy, and if we're able to kind of get over that poll and get into the conference championship, that would be amazing. I think for Cleveland fans, and in Cleveland, the whole city will rise if we see that.
Most definitely.
Yeah, man.
I can imagine being an offensive lineman and having to deal with Jadeveon Clowney and Myles Garrett at the same time.
Yeah. So
that's wild.
And if you paid attention to the Browns last year, Myles was on both sides of the ball last year. So we can mix it up. He can wheel and deal on both ends, which is awesome.
Yeah, he can go he can play any position on the D line. He's interesting pickup getting Clowney, because I just didn't see something like that coming to us, and it has, and it seems like the new regime and what we've been saying now for the last few seasons is the new culture is really starting to show up and become very, really real for Cleveland. Indeed. Okay, I'm gonna flip it a little out the sports part and go into some of the
probably should, because I'll talk Cleveland all day.
Oh, I'm sure you would. Yeah, it would, but see, I can't do too much because I'm a Detroit cat, so it might start to get testy.
Yeah,
if you do too much Cleveland, Detroit.
Yeah.
So I'm going to flip it to some of the nerdy side of life. I saw on your IG that you were doing some ShowTime at the movies, which were pretty dope. Some dope reviews.
Yeah.
It looks like you want to get back to that.
How you know?
I can tell.
How you know?
I can tell you want to get back into that.
Listen, I do. My dad scared me away from going to the movies. This is a true story. I think my dad started to feel like, okay, Shawn is training to break away so that he can go to the movies. It had nothing to do with a woman or nothing. I love going to the movies, and so I was going to the movies. I don't know what it was, like why that bugged him. But me making a post, like at one point I was going to the movies like 2 times a week, possibly even 3 times a week. And he's like, okay, this has got to stop. He said, no, you ain't going to the movies no more. No more movies. You need to be watching fights and you need to be training and so on and so forth. So he kind of pulled me away from that. But, with everything going on, I do have a theater room at my house. And the next move for me is to have everyone come to my theater, so that we can watch the movies. So that way I can get my feel that I get from going to the movies, and then I can still post them. So Mortal Kombat has come out. I haven't posted about it yet because I've been waiting on my wife to see it, but she gonna miss out.
Oh, American exclusive?
I can't wait much longer. I can't wait much longer. I haven't watched it yet.
You haven't watched it?
I know, and that was the biggest thing. Is like, in order for me to do these posts, I gotta watch the movie as soon as it drops. So I will be posting about this movie before the weekend.
What about King Kong and Godzilla? Did you watch it yet?
King Kong and Godzilla was nice.
I watched that too.
I actually like the way that it started. Like, I like the way that they in the beginning credits they showed like the history and all. They kind of got everybody up on who King Kong is to that world, and then who Godzilla is in retrospect, and how he was gonna really be able to conquer King Kong. I just thought the movie was fabulous.
And they explained why they had beef because everyone, the big question was, why are they beefing?
Yeah. Yeah. I think that was the biggest thing. Like, yo, why are they beefing? Like, what's the deal here? Like, okay, y'all got us excited about this monster movie, but we've been seeing this monster movie for years. And when's it gonna end? So, for them to give us a little bit more of the storyline was tight.
Yeah,
definitely. Well,
so you a geek, and I gotta flip it back on you.
Yes, go ahead, please.
Because you a geek.
Well, I put a J on front. I'm a former jock who's also a geek.
There you go. You a geek. So is what we saw in terms of the story of them being from this prehistoric Hollow Earth. Is that how far back does that storyline date?
The Hollow Earth part has always been part of the lore, but not like big. So it's kind of they kind of shoehorned a bit of an explanation in there.
Okay.
But it made sense.
Yeah.
For that type of film. So I wasn't mad at it. Yeah. I don't know any of, King Kong purists or Godzilla purists that were mad at it.
Yeah.
It was slightly convoluted, but it made sense for this imaginary world where these Titanic-sized, animals live.
Right. So
it worked. It was cool, and the movie was fun.
Hey, what it made even more sense was the fact that you just used the word lore.
Yes,
you said lore.
But listen,
use the word lore.
King Kong did punk out at one point. That moment,
he ain't punk out. He just, wasn't much more he could do.
Godzilla showed though. I saw defeat in his eyes, and I hurt me in my soul. You saw that too, brother?
Yeah.
It hurt me.
See, boy, you see, you're both fighters. There's always time for a strategic retreat to gather yourself and then come back. That's all Kong did. He just took a strategic retreat.
Yeah, that Joker needed his heart jolted by like Thor to get him back alive.
100%.
Well, you know what? That's that. Speaking of Thor, boy. You've reviewed a lot. Well, first of all, Shawn, if you ever want to do a movie podcast, I'm your man. Right. Well, two, boom. I saw you reviewed a bunch of MCU movies. Which MCU movie is your favorite?
I can't really pick one, man. I feel like it's when you watch one, or we'll start with the very first. When you watch the very first or one of the very first, you feel like you're on top of the world, and it can't get no better than that. And then am I right or am I wrong that they just kept hitting us and they kept hitting us? They kept hitting us.
You gotta watch them all.
Yeah, and
each one was like just as good as the next, just a different spin on it.
Yeah. So the last one, what are the last two called?
Infinity War and Endgame.
Infinity. So I saw Infinity War, and I was like, that kind of hit home for me from a religious standpoint. Mm-hmm. And I looked at my wife, and I was like, I was hating the movie when I walked out. And I told her, I was like, we made an agreement that we weren't going to go see Endgame, right? And then I just started replaying that movie in my head. I never even watched it again, just kept replaying in my head. And sure enough, when they started showing trailers for the next one, I looked at her. She was like, you said we weren't going to. I was like, we got to finish it. We got to finish what we started. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And they killed it again. You know what I mean? So I can't really pick one. I think if I have to, maybe Civil War.
Okay, that's a great one.
Yeah, I think
that one's a lot of fun.
Civil War. Yeah, that one. I think that one was
Frank Willows in that one.
Yeah,
nice.
Yeah,
nice.
That's Crossbones. Nice. He was the dude in the. You remember?
Oh, he was Crossbones. Okay.
Yeah. With he was with Captain America. He was part of the
Hydra.
But then he flipped.
Mm-hmm. But why they kill him off?
I don't know.
Crossbones is such a great minor villain.
I got a feeling they're going to bring him back because he told me at Mendez that he signed for 2 additional Avengers movies post that one. So that's what caught me when they killed him off in the beginning. So I wouldn't be surprised then if they can fit him in some backstory. A lot of people want to know what can he do because they didn't really show him doing anything besides just appearing and then getting thrown into a building.
Yeah, we're gonna get multiverse anyway, so we ain't got to worry about that.
That's crazy.
Worry about that.
That's crazy.
But
all right, speaking of Endgame.
Man,
wait, go ahead.
Did we just get an exclusive that we just heard?
We did.
I tried to bounce over it, man. He don't know. He don't know better.
You guys talking about me?
Yeah.
What did I do?
We did. It's all good. I'm not gonna let him catch on. So speaking of Endgame, if you have to box Thanos to undo the snap, and you get one hero's powers, whose powers do you take?
I always said the power I wanted is the power that Wolverine has to rejuvenate himself and
healing factor
and heal himself. I don't think anybody in that part of the comic series has that.
Hulk is kind of that way.
Kinda.
Hulk is just rage.
Yeah, like
he's just not gonna stop. Yeah, Hulk's just not gonna stop.
Oh yeah, Hulk's just out of control. Yeah, gamma rage.
But I feel like I've always had, like, if anything, I've had like a connection with the Hulk. So
okay,
yeah,
cool. All right, last one I have for you before we go to the That Is Not A Noun section. If you could be any fictional character, who would you be?
Oh goodness, out of from anything, anywhere,
anything.
anytime.
This could be comics. This could be video games. This could be movies. This could be any fictional character.
I don't even know, man. I think if anything, I think
you could be Shaft. You could be Wolverine. You could be Hulk. You could be Scorpion. You could be Black Panther. You could be anybody.
I don't know, man. Boyd is probably the only one on this call, and I'm sure a lot of people now might be surprised or not. But Boyd knows that I do have a extreme interest in acting, and so I've always said that I wanted to play a superhero. I don't know what superhero it would be. I think a long time ago I found the Falcon, and then my guy, what's his name, that does the Falcon. He took that role, and he's mastered the role. I can't think of his name right now, but that's kind of like where I want to go with this. Is like I would love to play a superhero.
Okay, I got one for you. So Kevin Feige, if you ever hear this, Shawn Porter as the Night Thrasher.
Wow.
Now, if you don't know Night Thrasher, Shawn, he is pretty much like Marvel's young black Batman. So rich, orphaned, rich.
Really?
Fights crime, and he's got two like metal, small, maybe like 2 foot long metal poles. I think he uses just to thrash people. Very Batman like, and he's part of the New Warriors. But I think you will be a great fit as Night Thrasher because you look, you can carry yourself in the suit. You can look the affluent part. You know you got hands, and we know you're in great shape. I think Night Thrasher will be a good fit for you.
Where does his character come from? Is it like based off of, like, played off of Batman?
Not that anyone's allowed to admit.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, you know what I'm saying. But he will be the closest.
Yeah, I think he would be a good fit because he's like Batman because he doesn't have any superpowers, but he's super smart. He's got body armor, he's got hands, and he's been a leader of the New Warriors. Okay, I think he'd be a good fit for you if they decide to go New Warriors in the MCU.
It looks smooth. I dig it.
I like that, but I must disagree. I think Porter would be a perfect Bishop. That's me.
Bishop would be cool too. I can see that, but see, Bishop is always like more like he's a bulky dude.
Yeah,
Bishop is like thick.
Yeah, I am familiar with him. He thick.
Bishop like a hood 250.
Anthony Mackie was who we were talking about before.
Anthony Mackie. Yeah, I could not think of his. I knew his last name was Mackie. Yeah.
And Shawn, I think you'd be a badass Blade. I'm throwing it out there.
Yeah. What's his name? Wesley did Blade. It ain't too late, you know what I mean? But yeah, he did a great Blade.
And I can see you being a good Captain America. I can.
Didn't
they do like a black Captain America?
Yeah, not even he's black.
Yeah, they just did it in Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Yeah, not even
if you haven't saw that yet.
Regardless of that, I think you'd be a great Captain America.
Yeah. Now they could start you because we were talking about this offline. That it would be great. There's a hero, Isaiah Bradley. They're probably not going to have a show of his, but it would be cool for them to show some backstory as they build for their young Avengers, you would be a great age to play a young Isaiah Bradley. But you just don't look like Carl Lumbly, who just played old Isaiah Bradley.
Who is that?
Carl Lumbly?
No, the character.
Isaiah Bradley is a character they created essentially to shed light on the Tuskegee experiments. And the hidden history of Black Americans. So they made him pretty much, he was a Captain America way back in the 40s and such, but no one knew about him. He was an urban legend, and they experimented on him, and after they gave him the serum, they used his blood to try to recreate the serum. Very Tuskegee like. They had him locked up, mistreated him. So he's not a very popular character, but they used him in the Falcon Winter Soldier series that just ended last Friday. So a lot of white folk found out who he is. But he's a really cool character. If you have time to read, you're a busy man. There's a great comic called Truth, Red, White, and Black. That is a mini series about Isaiah Bradley. That's a fantastic read for anyone listening.
I'll check it out.
Cool in the gang. So while we transition to Ish's questions, what do you think of what Demar has done so far? Isn't that amazing?
It's crazy. Like I'm in the art, so I see what he's doing. Like he's adding the shade to show like the light is on me. I'm familiar with the picture that he's using too. I'm gonna try to see if I can pull up the picture that he's using. And my man is getting down like while we're doing this. And my thing is like in my world, this is brand new to computers. So when did he start doing this, and how did he get good so quick? That's what I want to know.
He got skills.
Go ahead, Demar. Tell him when you started.
All right. Okay, so you hear me, right?
Yeah.
Mic on?
Yeah, mic on.
Yeah, we can hear you, Demar.
Okay. All right. So, I'm a traditional oil painter, acrylic, traditional media. But I had a flood in my apartment, and I lost like thousands of dollars of worth of paintings, original paintings, paper, canvas, and my iPad was on the table, so it was still good. So I found out it was about maybe 7 years ago. So I started around, painting on the iPad. I could like this, and you travel, go whatever, and it's no dry time. And like, for example, if you want to copy it, send it to you or whatever. Print it out on canvas, get up in your house or whatever you want to do.
I bootlegged it already. I took a picture. I bootlegged it already. It's been bootlegged. Bootleg the hell out of that too.
It happened to you again, Demar. They stole your Colin Kaepernick work, and now this.
Now, I mean, at the least, what we can do is man, is start posting it and promoting it and promoting you and all that kind of stuff, man. I'm sure that there's fans that if you sent the print to me, I could sign it, and there's fans that would love to purchase it, win it through a contest, anything like that. And whether that money goes to you or goes to a foundation, it ain't going to me. So that sounds
like a great giveaway.
Yeah, that would be great. Let's definitely move forward with something like that.
That's definitely. All right, Ish, the show is now yours.
Oh, thank you. That was dope, man. Mr. Showtime, thank you for joining us. First question I want to ask. Recently, Tom celebrated a 100th birthday. Talk about that, King.
Yeah, man. For me, it's a distant relative. My dad was closer to her and that side of the family than I have ever been. Her name is Flora, Auntie Flora. She's our auntie, and for a majority of the family that we were with is a grandmother or great grandmother, great grandmother. And I believe my dad counted a total of 6 generations in the room the night that we were able to celebrate with her. I got a video of her telling jokes over the last week. She's sharp. She's got great memory, as does my dad. She's still relatively healthy at this point. I was telling the story on my podcast that she's feeding herself. She can, in some ways clothe herself and take care of herself, which is amazing at 100 years old. Something you don't typically see. Normally, we see the worst, which is someone, bed rest and things like that. So for me to be able to see that, share a small conversation with her, and just hear the beauty and through her voice and through her stories was amazing, and definitely a moment that I will always cherish.
That's awesome. Talk about the candy story, because you both have a sweet tooth.
Yeah. So, which is, when I went over, my dad's like, "Hey, let's go take some pictures with Auntie." And my whole thing was I didn't want to just be in a picture with her and people see that, oh, Shawn was with his aunt that just turned 100. So, I haven't had very many moments to speak with her. I would say outside of that weekend, 2 or 3 other opportunities. So I was like, you know what, before we get into the picture taking, let me, talk to her and, introduce myself and, all that kind of stuff. And while I was talking to her, she's opening up a little piece of candy. And I said, "Auntie, you want me to get that for you?" And she said, "Yeah." And so it was already like halfway open when I reached for it. And once I got it all the way open for her, I handed it to her, and she says, "You can tell them to bring some more candy on over here because this ain't enough for me." I was like, I leave back. I'm like, hold on, now. You got a little attitude. You still got some character. You know how to handle yourself and be fun and funny and tell people what you want. So it was really amazing to be in the room with her that night.
That's dope.
My dad got it documented and everything. So she was, hopefully when we get that done, we'll be able to post that and things like that. But she told plenty of stories. You imagine she was born in 1921. So just amazing to see what was coming from her that night.
That's awesome, because I want to frame it because the importance of the 2 L's, love and
Mhm.
legacy. So can you talk about the importance of love and legacy when the relationship between your father as well as your children? Boyd,
Mhm.
if you want to touch on your experience with your dad too, go for it.
I'll go first. What I tell people nowadays is that my dad started the dynasty without even knowing it. And I'm here to carry on the dynasty, make the dynasty bigger and stronger than what he ever knew that he was doing or did not know what he was doing. But our legacy, it's funny that you use that word legacy and love, because our legacy basically is built around love. I remember my dad like practically forcing me to tell my brother that I loved him when I was younger. You don't understand these things, and I'm 7 years old. My dad said, "Tell your brother you love him." I'm like, "Well, I do. I love you." You know what I mean? Like all apprehensive. You don't really want to say it,
Yeah.
But as I've gotten older, I understood that was something that my dad was never ever able to share with his brother, nor his family. My dad didn't have the kind of family that we have, that he had with me. Didn't have a dad. His mom was, there but not there, so on and so forth. And so my dad was basically pouring into us everything that he always wanted. And I didn't understand that for a long time. So you fast forward and people saying, hey, you guys got a great relationship and you guys are doing things in the boxing world that you don't see very often. How are you guys able to do that? And no joke, you could probably watch a video right now where I'm telling people that at the end of the day, we love each other, and our love gets us in and out of the ring safely, gets us in and out of the ring successfully. And that kind of is just how it is, man. The number one thing that I can tell people about the legacy that my dad has began, it all revolves around love. And that's basically what we are, man. We're a big ball of love that, when we go up at night and thousands of people in the stadium, y'all ain't seeing nothing but the love go to work. That's all it is.
That's awesome. Boy, you want to say
that? Was the question about love and legacy between your father?
Yeah.
Yeah. My father set a really good template for a vision of what to aspire to be, and with the constant rhetoric, repetition over and over and over again throughout my childhood of a vision for how somebody could be, and what you can try to promote in others. So me following in alignment with what I remember his teachings were, is the way of me carrying him present, even when he's no longer here. And God willing, when I finally have a son of my own, it'll be a rebirth of my father, because his life will just transfer. It's run its whole cycle, its course. So it's and because it's easy, not people are going to violate their own visions that they create for themselves just by being human and making mistakes. That doesn't mean that the vision's tarnished at all. It's just we're humans. We're gonna mess up, but the vision's there.
And the key thing is vision. Can you talk about what discipline in boxing have you applied to fatherhood, Showtime?
Yeah, all of it. I unfortunately for my wife, everything that I do is kind of like comes from boxing. So when her and I have conversations, like I find myself talking to her the way my dad talks to me, but and I find myself kind of like, and for the sake of words, kind of like coaching her or giving her this rhythm that I've heard for so long. And the same thing for my sons. My son, well, definitely the 3-year-old, and the other one will follow right behind him, where I'm saying, hey, this is what I want you to do, and then I'm telling him to repeat it back to me. And my son, just out of nowhere, he's 3 years old now, but out of nowhere, he just starts all the time. He'll recite the rules of the house. So all the time. So like, said, it's crazy because it's like Diggy. I said, don't pick up the water. You put it down right there on the table. Only mommy and daddy pick it. Like, yes, Diggy. Like, yes, only mommy and daddy. So you hear that all the time, but it's basically, that's where I come from. I come from a world where everything has to be very precise. Everything has to be calculated, and you very small room for mistakes. So that's kind of how I'm growing my household. Kind of a bit the same.
That's awesome. And then last question, talk about your experience at West Point, because I know last week you and Boy were together at
I
West
gotta go back. And I wish people could go and really see what these cadets do, how these cadets operate, how they go by day to day, how Monday gets them to Tuesday. It's a day-to-day process. And I know that because the kind of regiment that I work on is very similar, and I've worked on that regiment for so long that when I saw those kids, those cadets out there, I knew instantly, like, they're living the same life that I've had to live for a long time, where freedom, for the sake of words, was very restricted. You had to ask before you got anything. You had to ask before you went and did anything. It was, you had to get permission, and somebody has to know exactly where you're at, exactly when you're coming back, exactly where you were, who you were with, so on and so forth. And so just seeing the way they moved, and I think the other thing that really struck me was the kind of structure and respect that they have for one another. And I think, Boy, you could speak to this, but I think they go from being forced to have that kind of structure and respect to adopting that structure and respect. And again, like, just coming back to myself, I see like that. I once we get off the line, Israel, I'm gonna always refer to you as sir, and you're gonna tell me 100 times not to, but I'm gonna do it 100 times because that's who I am and that's where I come from. And so to see those guys just stand up and be strong at all times, it's very, very hard to do. And I think that that's where my respect and admiration comes from for them, because you guys really, you guys don't see the training camps that we have. The training camps they're vigorous, they're hard. There's a lot of hard times and days, but we get a break after that big night, and you gotta see you see it all in that one night, So in that one night, we're basically trying to do, we're at war for one night, but hopefully by the grace of God, those cadets won't be at war forever, but the fire that they're under every single day, the fighters go through that couple times a year, you know what I mean? So my hat really goes off to them, and I'm looking forward to being able to get back out there ASAP, because I loved it.
That's dope. And last word, Boy, brother, tell me about that nostalgia of going back last week, because people know your history a little bit. You know, 3-time champion. So talk about that nostalgia going back last week.
Sure. So I was a 4-time champ at West.
My bad.
Get that man his flowers, Ish.
That's what I'm doing right now.
The most special thing, and I told my mother this when I got home, was, it's rare. Sometimes you have parts of your life in different segments that you care that are the centers of your life individually, but they're never going to find each other unless it's like a wedding or a funeral, or a fight.
Yeah,
that bring when you're the one fighting, everyone's in the same spot. And I got to have at the location that is so dear to my foundation, which after I left West Point and I was boxing in the Army, that I'm boxing for Team USA, all of my peers had no experience with understanding that place. And you have to understand it to really kind of understand me some. And to be able to bring Shawn, I didn't bring him for him to be there. And then for me to get him, to take him around, like my holiest of holy places, get to experience that with him.
Yeah.
Get to have those two entities that I care. It's almost like you have the love of like your mother and your father, but when they're together,
in
the same spot. And then being able, my classmate Monique at the very end came on over, and I've known her since freshman year. That's the most memorable year at West Point, and having them two interact and getting a picture of them two together so I can visually see my lives coming together, and that with the people I care about just so much. And I have some awesome pictures of Coach Barone talking to Shawn's backside. Coach Barone's the Army West Point boxing coach. He's a legend there. He's my first coach I ever had. And just taking those snapshots to know that I have Shawn in Fresh Plea Boxing is the start of everything in my life, of the story.
Yeah.
And having him, like, it's like I brought him back in time with me.
Yeah.
And that was great. And then watching those cadets not give two cares about who he was once the bell rang.
Yeah.
And that's why I told Shawn, I said, listen, these kids fight with a belief, like they represent something greater than a human. So it doesn't, I'm Army. You're not beating me no matter what you are. I'm going out on the shield. I don't know anything else. And I've been watching the sparring more frequent. It's amazing how they always release, no matter what. Like, you can't get any freebies. They're just trained to release, but that's the mentality of them. Fight back. We're West Point, we fight back. We're West Point, we fight back.
Wow.
That's awesome, man. And again, I want to thank you, brothers, for taking the time to talk to us, because this was like, I didn't even feel like this was an interview. This was like a moment in brotherhood.
Yeah.
So I want to thank you for your time. Before we end it, tell the people how they can find you guys.
Again, I will go first, and let me first off start by saying I know we joked around and all that kind of stuff. I was short on time because I had something to do. Bring me back whenever. Anything going on? You ain't got your guest fell out. Hit me up. I'm here because you again. I didn't tell the entire story about my dad, but my dad not having a father caused him to he kind of yearned to be there for me at every single point, every single facet of my life. And he's kind of bred that into me. And so I do the same things with my sons. Again, learning from my dad, I learned how to, give them some space. I learned how to let them be with mom and all that kind of stuff. So it's been amazing being a father now, and I enjoy it. So whenever we have an opportunity to talk about it some more, let's do it. Don't be hesitant at all to invite me back. And I would love to have you on my podcast, the Porterway podcast. Our episodes drop every Tuesday, all of the podcasting platforms. I tell everybody watching on YouTube because it's always much more fun to see us do it like that. All of my social media, ShowTime, Sean P. And I will be back in the ring in July. I will be on TV Saturday night. So I'm always on TV nowadays. Yeah. Thank you, fellas.
No, thank you, Boyd.
Our esteemed pleasure.
I just want to say I wish that I had the video footage from the first times, one of the first times I ever interacted with Shawn, which is I was a bystander, was in 2006 at the U.S. Championships, right before is going out for his semifinals fight against Edwin Rodriguez, and I just got out of the ring when I just fought Keith, and I go out in the hallway, and it's like out of a movie scene. You see Shawn, he's 17 years old. He's got whatever he's wearing on, and he's looking up like this at his father, and his father's looking down maybe 2 feet away, giving him this pep talk. There's nobody in the I just happened to walk out, so they were all by themselves, and he's just looking down, running me, goes something like, Shawn, they don't want to see you. They don't. You think Danny wants to fight you? They don't want to fight you about Jacobs. You don't want that. They don't want Shawn. They don't want to see you. All right, you get it. They don't want to go out and do what you're supposed to do. They can't do shit. They know it. And he's like 17, and his pops and Shawn's like this, like just such a good student.
Yeah.
And then Shawn he pulled off something amazing in the amateurs, how many points he was down against this dude in the last round and beat him. Yeah. And that dude was defending national champ, but I just wish I could have had that. Because when the fans see all the people in their stardom, but they don't see the moments leading up. A young child, 17 years old, his daddy. Yeah. But I know that exists. Yeah. So I know that bond like way before it got public.
Yeah.
So I love it. Boyd Melson on any social media, BoydMelson. And you guys are welcome to be on each other's podcast again at any time. Just letting you know, putting that out there.
Also, Boyd, we got to work on you getting your own podcast too, because you need a podcast. Fact.
It's true.
I'm gonna have Shawn as my guest every day.
Yeah, I know he will. Just call him the co-host. No, it's my podcast.
Shawn, what do you want to talk about today? We talk about every day, boy. How to take over the world.
Look at that, the Pinky and the Brain reference.
Yeah. There you go.
Guys, thank you for your time on here. And God willing, we're going to be coming within some months. We may come back with some good news about a movie project that Shawn and I have been working on pretty hard. So
that's dope.
Cool to share also.
Hey, I've been writing the screenplay for like 10 years. So Shawn, if you ever think you want to,
we got to help ourselves first. We can't help you.
No, I'm talking about, by the time I'm done writing, everything you're working on will be finished. But if you think you can play a cowboy,
this is a masterpiece and a half you working on, huh?
Hey. I mean, I'm writing a movie about Bill Pickett, who was the first black cowboy inducted to the Cowboy Hall of Fame. He's a cowboy legend, and there's been some patience and some respect, because I don't want to mess the story up. And then I've got 5 kids. I did tell you that before. So, time is not the thing that I have a whole lot of. But I've been writing. But by the time I'm done writing, everything y'all working on will be done and probably win an Academy Award before I'm done writing.
Good luck with that, man. Hey, let's check in with Demar right quick. Give me a percentage. How far done are you? I got to go, but I know they'll still be here for a minute. Demar, what percentage is this right here? Look like 100 to me. So
he's gonna say like that's 20%.
You already bootlegged it. Yours already done.
Bootlegged it for my wife. Done? My wife got it. That's all.
40%.
He said bootleg.
That man said 40%.
Oh my God.
Okay, we'll allow you to say that. We'll allow you to say that. You got 12 minutes. How long is our podcast? You got 12 minutes.
That's
your lips look like that in real life.
No, they look they are sexier than that, but I get it. He can't do it too. He can't go too far. I get it. I gotta go, fellas. Hey, my extreme pleasure. I gotta get back on with y'all, man. Have a good one, y'all.